Hi everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we talk about the paranormal at a pub table. Now I'd like to present you with the question of the week, and the question of the week is going to be a short 10-minute video on our YouTube channel, where we present to you a question dealing with the paranormal, and we hope to see your responses in the comments down below. The question of the week this week is, do spirits see each other? Can they see each other? This is an interesting question.
Yes.
As many of you may know, we give the ghost tours down in Yorktown, Yorktown Ghost Walks. And I had a gentleman on the tour that first brought up this question. I was going through the various haunted locations down there in Yorktown and telling the ghost stories, of course.
Right.
And he said, with all these spirits that linger here in the town, do you think they see each other in passing? And I've also had some questions about this pop up on some of our YouTube videos.
Right.
What are your thoughts? Do spirits see each other?
I don't know. Of course, it's all theory. The only thing we can do is speculate on this. But you think about them being on another plane or another level of existence than what we are on, right? And it seems as if that level of existence is one solitary, unified level of existence, as opposed to multiple sort of, pieces, bits and pieces. In other words, one spirit on one plane and one spirit on another section of the plane and one spirit on another. So it seems like it would be logical for these spirits to be able to see each other and even interact with each other. But at the same time, it's such a huge question because you just don't know psychologically. I mean, I believe in some senses that hell is different for each person. Like I believe that, one person's hell is not another person's hell. So if that's the case, then perhaps one person's afterlife is not another person's afterlife. Maybe they don't see each other. Maybe they see only what they want to see. In other words,
Absolutely.
If a spirit is not a part of another spirit's existence in life, perhaps you don't. That one spirit doesn't see the other guy walking down the street or something. You just don't know.
Yeah. Now, I have a few theories about this myself, and I got to say, one of them is this. You think about a spirit appearing, and we go to many haunted locations, and they're, they see these spirits that linger about, or they hear the sounds in the night, the bumps in the night. These spirits slip through the veil for a moment of time. It's like a flash of lightning. If you blink, you miss it.
Right.
If one spirit flashes through, and then back beyond the veil.
Yes.
And then another spirit flashes through. It's like two different flashes of lightning.
Right.
They never see each other. You don't see two flashes of lightning at the same time. You only see one. They don't see each other. But then you also got the case where perhaps I'm thinking of eras. Okay, in Yorktown, I'll use Yorktown for an example because that's where the question was initially brought about.
Yes.
You have spirits that are there from the Civil War.
Correct.
You have spirits that are there from the Revolutionary War.
Yes.
And you have spirits there from other times throughout history. Perhaps on their plane of existence, they're still going in their timeline.
Exactly.
So perhaps the spirit from the Civil War is on that timeline of the Civil War where he or she cannot really interact with somebody that's on the timeline of the Revolutionary War.
Right.
It's basically like time travel, for example. You have these two timelines that are going side by side, and every once in a while they're popping through into our existence.
Right.
But when they do, we can see them, we can experience them, but they can't experience each other.
Yes. And that makes perfect sense because if you think about it, there's been a lot of instances where we have heard people report that a spirit will walk directly through a wall where there used to be a door. There used to be a door right there in that particular point, right? And if that's the case, then the spirit is obviously seeing what it wants to see. It's seeing what it knew of in life.
Right.
Right? And if that's the case, and it is actually seeing what used to be in its time frame, then it's obviously not seeing other spirits unless that same spirit happened to appear to that person when they were living, which brings you one step further. You know, a woman's living in a house. She sees a ghost in her house. She knows this ghost lives in her house or hangs out in her house. The woman's house burns down and she dies, and she becomes a ghost herself. Perhaps she would be able to see that same ghost again because that was a part of her living consciousness.
So a ghost that she saw in her house when she was alive, she still sees when she's a spirit.
Could be.
That's an interesting point.
Could be.
I have a new saying. That screws everything up. And that's my saying because I found some things recently in some of our investigations that really just screw up everything with our train of thought.
Yeah.
And, you know, our perspective of the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
You take into account residual hauntings.
Right.
Okay. Now, often at times when spirits walk through a door that was once there.
Yes.
Or if you see them, they're walking in midair.
Uh-huh.
And they're not really floating. In their plane of existence, there was a floor there.
Right, right.
Or for Roswell, for example, you see spirits walking up into the sky.
Yes.
But at one point in time, there's actually a staircase there.
Right.
These spirits are residual. What about intelligent spirits? Can intelligent spirits come back and see residual spirits? Because if they're there, if they can see us, perhaps, because I've brought about the question, can spirits, not only can they see each other, but can they see us?
Right.
A lot of times are they there, and we're not, our levels, our plane of existence aren't matching up quite right. So they can't really see us. They can't really respond to our questions.
Right.
They don't really know what we're saying or asking. They can't even see us. They don't even know that we're there.
Right.
It's like that movie. What was that movie with Nicole Kidman? The Others.
The Others, yeah.
Yeah, where they were, you know, living in their world, and it was their time period, and then all of a sudden these people are moving into their house.
Yeah, yeah,
you
that's
know?
right.
And they could see those people, but what if they can't? What if they can't see us? What if we're ghosts to them?
I mean, it very well could be. I would think that the residual spirits, because they're not actually a spirit, because it's actually an energy, are not going to see anything. Yeah. But intelligent spirits, I would think that they could see us. And the reason being because you know, as a living person, that when you make eye contact with another living person, that person is seeing you. There's no question about it. There's something about the eye contact that's a very powerful thing, really, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
So the eye contact is what dictates whether or not the spirit actually sees you.
You told me about something like that with a horse.
I did, yes. This was relayed to me from my father. He's very much a Civil War fanatic and also a paranormal fanatic. And he had told me that there was a gentleman that visited a battlefield, and I forget which one it was. But when he had visited this battlefield, he'd actually encountered a couple of soldiers that were on horses. They were cavalry. It was obvious that they were from the Civil War. And they were just kind of off in a field. But the strange thing about it was that not only did the spirit turn and look at this man, but the horse looked at him. He knew enough about horses to tell that the horse was looking at him.
Right.
Now that begs the question, okay, everybody asks about spirits and everybody says, you know, do spirits of horses or spirits of dogs or cats or whatever, do they make it into heaven? Do they stay on this earthly plane? What happens
That's a question.
with them?
That's another question. Right.
It is.
For another question of the week.
Yes. But because the horse and the man both made eye contact,
he knew it was
with this gentleman, he knew that these were intelligent spirits that were sitting there looking at him while he was looking at them.
Now, talking about spirits seeing each other. Do they see each other? Whether they're seeing residual spirits, can a spirit come back into our timeline and see a residual spirit? Can they even see us?
Yeah.
We've picked up, and there's been some other cases where others have picked up some interesting evidence that actually relates spirits talking to each other. And I'll relay to you a case that was up in Winchester, Virginia.
Right.
We're up there in Winchester. And we were down in the basement. We were running the spirit box.
Right, yes.
And it sounded like two spirits were talking to each other. One said, "I'm afraid of it."
Right, exactly. It sounded like a man and a woman. And it was obvious from the way that they were speaking to each other that they were very, they knew each other. Like they were not just like had just encountered each other and happened to be speaking. It sounded as if they knew each other when not only in the spiritual plane, but also in the earthly plane. Like perhaps they were a husband and wife or something of that nature. And that's the weirdest thing, I have to say. Just kind of on a side note, when you're analyzing audio and you start to get this amazing sort of flow of conversation between two spirits, and when they're talking not only to each other, but they're talking about you. So you know that they see you, they know that they hear you, they know that that they're paying attention to what you're asking and what you're saying, and that's exactly the case in Winchester. We kept getting these answers that came through that were not only answers to our questions that we were asking, but there were also like comments that they would make to each other that made you realize that they're talking to each other.
Right, absolutely. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give my theory on this question.
Yes.
As we wrap up the question of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that spirits that passed away during different times, if something's there in front of you, you can see it. So if a spirit that passed away during the Revolutionary War is present in our realm, in our plane of existence, at the same time as a spirit that passed away during the Civil War, I think they'd be able to see each other.
Yes.
Because I think if they're aware and they can interact with us, I think they'd be able to interact with each other.
That's right, yeah.
At the same time, I think spirits pop in at different times like different flashes of lightning and never see each other.
Right.
But when we have spirits that are interacting with each other, I think that's because they were from the same era.
Right.
The same plane of existence.
Exactly.
Perhaps a husband and wife that have passed away.
Right.
Perhaps a couple of people that, if you take like a battlefield, for example.
Yes.
And there's several spirits there that have passed away, several intelligent spirits. I think they would very well be able to interact with each other.
Yes.
And being that trauma, that PTSD,
right,
they could very well think they're still at battle.
They could.
And they could very well be on high alert. And one thing I would say in closing with this question is spirits. You think, okay, if there's a spirit from the Civil War, they've been here for over 150 years. They should know the war's over. They should know modern technology and what the world evolved around them.
Yeah.
However, these spirits, we don't know how time passes in their plane of existence.
That's right.
Okay, what was 150 plus years for us may have
Yes.
only seemed like moments for them.
That's
Perhaps
true.
only those flashes of lightning, those few moments when they're on this side of the veil.
Right.
Perhaps that's the only time that time passes for them.
It could be.
And the other times, they're not conscious.
Right. That's exactly right. I have to agree with you on that. Given the evidence that we've had from investigations, and given the things that we've experienced just over the times that we've been doing this, it's obvious that what you're saying is correct. That that not only do these spirits, if they share the earthly plane, then they share the spiritual plane. If they don't share the earthly plane, they don't share the spiritual plane either.
Absolutely. So to our viewers on YouTube, we'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Please comment.
Right.
Please comment down below the video.
Yes.
What do you think? You don't have to be an expert. No one's an expert.
Right.
I have more questions now than I did 20 years ago when I started venturing out to haunted places.
That's absolutely true.
A little more than 20 years.
Yeah.
But regardless, yes, more questions now than ever. So please, let us know what you think.
Yes, and if you have any experiences that you can say that will sort of back up our theories, or that will, lean
Discount
the
them
idea
even.
to one side or the other, please relay those, because we love to hear other people's stories or their experiences with the paranormal.
Absolutely.